Hey everybody, this is Eddie coming to you from Flagstaff, Arizona. I started this guy get switched up. Anyways, gorgeous Flagstaff, Arizona. I believe this is part of Walnut Canyon, which is part of the Park Service. So I decided to take a walk out and shoot this video. I was going to go hit the gym and then shoot a video afterwards. I'm like, you know what, I need some fresh air. And I'll go for a walk. So walk to probably about a mile and a half out here this canyon. It's gorgeous here, just southeast of Flagstaff. Anyways, it's great. It's going to be an important day shooting this video. But also tonight, got the webinar hangout with Jackie K. And a lot of what you guys are seeing is about the event. Get Empowered with Yes I Can Incorporated, which they are putting it on, or I am putting it on through them, for them. And right now, I am pretty much the only one that's doing any type of networking, trying to reach out to businesses. I've been driving around town handing out flyers after flyers after flyers, to speaking with the assistant principal and counselors at one school, to one time assistant principal and another time a counselor at another high school. So I've been trying to reach the schools. Same deal as before, is all sounds great and dandy, at least with one of the schools, but just less willing to help. And I got some good progress with the other schools. So I won't say which schools, but anyways, I think it's going to be obvious. So anyways, I'm shooting this video. Talked with Vidal today. He just put out a video, and I just got off the phone with Jason J. Boom Lagarde, who, if you have not seen his video on my post, you got to get on it and you got to watch it. The dude's passionate. He's bringing it. He's reaching out to North Dakota for the community of Flagstaff in Williams. He has his mom trying to raise money back home in a small town, North Dakota, to raise money for the community here in Flagstaff. Vidal just posted a video, and I believe he posted in frustration. So some of you guys might be, well, then why the heck you guys doing it? And this is why I'm doing it. This is where I'm coming from. This is another part of my story. And Vidal said, Vidal had shared something with me today, and he says, dude, you need to break out something. People need to know why this is so passionate for you, why you're so passionate about this, why this means such a great deal to you. And said, all right. And one thing, Vidal and myself have become real good friends. And pretty much, there's very few people I talk to outside of Vidal, and probably the next closest is my uncle, who's more like a brother to me. But anyways, so I started thinking about what I'm going to share. And I know I got so many different types of stories. And it's not stories of, have pity on me and woe is me, this and that. It's stories of inspiration, stories of just what I've learned and what a lot of people give up on. With me writing a book on the effect of suicide, it's amazing to know what some people have taken their lives over. And I'm not just talking about those families that I know. I've come in contact with so many people, but it's kids or young teenagers that have lost a girlfriend, have got caught cheating. They have low self-esteem, low self-worth, and don't even realize it, or they create this thing in their head that's clouded on, well, I'm not worthy of great things, which is wrong. And a lot of this ties back to my dad, and I'm going to show this real quick. And right here, this is made in memory for my dad by a good friend, Lee Payne, who I grew up with, and my younger brother grew up with. And he was coaching he coached the last season of my dad's Little League career as a coach, and my dad had coached for 39 plus years before he passed last July in 2012. But I learned a lot from my dad, and I've learned a lot from my mom as well. But one thing I learned from my dad was how to deal with life sometimes. And he was a Vietnam vet. I was born after he came back from Nam. Dealt with a lot of PTSD with him. Life wasn't always pretty, but who's to say everybody's life is pretty, no matter whether they come back from war or not. But anyways, he taught me a lot. When I was 17, I shared this already, so I'm not going to go too in-depth. This is when I found out my cousin had committed suicide. I was going to get drunk after the funeral. I was going to get lit up. And my dad approached me and gave me options. He didn't tell me what to do and what not to do. He says, if you do this, then here's the consequences. If you do this, here is something good that can happen by the choice you make. And he put things into perspective and ticked me off, actually, because of that, but I followed his lead. And because of that, something great happened that year with the football season. But later on in life, as I was about 29, 30, somewhere around there, 28, 29, 30, one of my favorite uncle ended up in the hospital. He ended up having brain damage. He was on a machine, and we finally ended up taking him off. My aunt, thankfully, and without hesitation, said, we're not going to leave him half. We got to let him go. So after he passed, I stepped outside and I called my dad. I said, Dad, Uncle Andy passed. And he says, all right. He goes, I know he was your favorite uncle. And I have tons of uncles. He goes, I know he was your favorite uncle because he always took you out, took you to the Verde to go camping. He took you and your other uncle out to go swimming, to go fishing, to go do this, go do that. He took you guys everywhere. He goes, so I know you're hurting. He goes, but I'm going to tell you one thing. You need to mourn on your own. And here's why. And at first I got, real quick when he said that, I kind of just like, well, what? No, I just lost somebody important. And he says, your mom just lost her brother. Your Uncle Teddy just lost his brother. Your Uncle Gabby, your Uncle Clarence just lost their brother. Your grandmother just lost her son. Your brothers lost their uncle. Your aunt just lost her husband. And somebody needs to step up and take care of everyone. And that is what you're going to do. So you need to find a way and learn to mourn on your own. And without hesitation, I said, okay. And I did that. And I helped out as much as I could. I stayed as strong as I could through a lot of it. And that's when it started. And then my grandma passed, and I spent the last night with her as well. And so as time went on, I've dealt with several different things. And I always went to my dad for advice when hard stuff hit. And then last summer, got a phone call after me and my kids got out of a movie theater, and my mom was calling, and she says, you need to get up to the ER, and you need to get up there now, and it's not good. Your dad's on his way, and it's not good. So I called a friend to ask her to watch my kids for me, and definitely she did. And so I went up there, and when I finally walked into the emergency room in there and found out what had happened, I knew that morning was the last conversation I had with him. And I sat there, looked at him for a while, and just kind of thought. And one thing I said, okay, this ain't in my hands, and I'm not going to beg. So I told him, I said, Dad, I got this. You do what you got to do. And after I told him this, he had a tear running down his eye. So I know he heard me. But then it was business. It was take care of the family. That's what he taught me. He was the second oldest of 11 kids. He was the oldest male of all these 11 kids. He had lost siblings or little brothers at younger ages. My Uncle Teddy, my Uncle Anthony, from cancer and something else I forgot. And so that's what he did. And in Nam, he was a point man. He was a part of the cavalry. He was an airborne cav. He was a point man. So he had that leadership role, which is something he tried to instill in me, whether it's sports or in life, so on and so forth. So when I got in there, after I told him that, my thoughts switched to take care of my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, my little brother, anybody that needed me, some of my dad's friends, so on and so forth. So I did that. And then several days later, right before this had happened, I posted, just like you guys are seeing right now, a project for my book with Kickstarter.com. I didn't raise any money. I didn't get any money. So I was all butthurt. And this was a couple days before my dad ended up in the hospital. So being in the hospital with my dad for 4 days, I sat there and decided I'm not going to deal with this suicide book. I'm not going to write this book. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to get a real job. I'm going to quit thinking about this big dream of becoming a writer and a speaker and this and that. In time, that'll come. It's just not going to happen. I need support. And was playing woe is me. So after my dad had passed, or before my dad had passed, sorry to go back and forth on this, getting a little personal, I sat there and I prayed to God. And I said, God, I'm not going to beg you to not take him. I got several questions to ask of you. God, if you leave him, please leave him whole and don't leave him half. Leave him whole if you're going to leave him. Said 2, if you're going to take him, I will not question you one bit. I will not question why he had to go. I will not question that at all, and I will be happy with that. I said, I got one question for you. If he can stand before you and prove himself worthy of you and to be by your side, I said, can you give me a sign? And I said, that's all I ask. And when he finally let go, he fought for about an hour and a half, hour 15, something like that. When he finally let go, he let out his last breath, and I kissed him on the head. And after I kissed him on the head, he let out another breath, which kind of startled me, but I was still at my head next to his. And let go. And finally I looked at my uncle, and he's like, yep, nurse says he's gone, he's gone. So I was walking out of the room, and I heard one of my aunts, because it was time to take care of what's the next step. As I was walking out, I heard my Aunt Barbara say something, did you see that? And didn't stop to ask what. So after probably about a half hour of trying to organize what was going to happen with the funeral, so on and so forth, I walked back in with my Aunt Susan and my Uncle Roki. And my Uncle Roki looked at me and goes, dude, I don't know how you do it. He goes, you're a very strong man. I said, no, I'm not. I just know how to deal with this because that man right there taught me how. And then right afterwards, he goes, wow. He goes, did you see that, though? And I said, see what? He goes, did you see him smile? I said, no, I did. And I said, I heard Aunt Barbara say something. He goes, I've never seen your dad smile like that before. That he opened his eyes as if he'd seen somebody he hadn't seen before. He smiled, and this was after I thought he'd already left. And then he let out his last breath and his eyes closed. So my prayers were answered. And I looked up and said, thank you. Well, 2 days later after his funeral, I was very exhausted, mentally drained, just emotionally drained. Just the time I put into and my brother put in and some of my uncles that we put in to make the funeral happen in very, very short notice. And we were at the Legion in Williams, and a man approached. My uncle had told me of a man that was there that my dad had promised something to. So I told my brother ran home, got it, brought it back because we did not question if my dad promised something, then it was our duty to make sure that promise got followed through. And so we gave the man his gift. And after having done so, the man wanted to sit down with me and have a drink because I have yet to meet him. And so we sat down and he started talking, sharing story after story after story. And you could see he was broken, he was hurt, but he was real guarded. And then finally he turned it to me and said, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Tell me about, the man I care about. Tell me about his oldest son. And I shared, what I did, doing tree work. I've done this, I'm doing that. I was working on a book, but, put that on hold. And then he asked about the book. And he said, what is the book about? And I said, the effects of suicide. I've dealt with 10, 12 suicides, not all of them close, but people I know. And I'm getting testimonies from family members that have been left behind. And he looked at me, and his next question was, how would you like another testimony? And right then and there, I knew exactly what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about sharing the story of losing somebody. And so I played dumb and said, well, what do you mean? Have you lost somebody, or are you talking about taking your own life? And he started softening up and said, I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't have a relationship with any of my kids. He had 7 or 8 kids. And went on and tried justifying to me why he had good reason to take his life. And because of this, as soon as he threw this on me, I looked up to the sky and I got mad as quick as I could, but as quick as that madness set in, I said, screw this, I got it. All right, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This man here is hurt, and he opened up to me for a reason. He came to me for a reason. God put him in front of me for a reason. And because I found out what type of man this was by listening to him, he was just hurt. He was broken. He had lost a good friend that confided in him, a good man that believed in him and did not know what to do. And I went at him hard and told him after all was said and done, I'm not going to tell you not to put a bullet in your head. But if you think nobody's going to give a damn, then you are wrong. That man right there, my uncle, cares. The 3 couples that you just told me of, that you loved so much that you wanted to introduce them to my dad, they will care. And my dad's up there watching you right now saying, no, don't do it. I said, I'm not going to tell you not to. I said, but you're wrong if you think nobody's going to give a damn. And I was done. And after that, I sat there for a little bit and didn't say a word. I wasn't pissed. I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I was already emotionally, mentally drained. And he sat there, and then he started chuckling. And he looked at me and says, what is it you do for a living? And I said, I'm just a tree cutter. And it was then when I walked away and I said, all right, I got you, God. You answered my prayer. I'm going to do what it is that's meant for me to do, what you have in me. I don't have a problem talking, obviously. I will talk. I don't have a problem of trying to view things differently. There's a kid today that I just saw a post on Facebook that died not far from here playing football. And people think, well, that's not our community. Well, it's going to affect the kids that play against that school. It's going to affect the kids in the surrounding communities. It's going to affect the kids here in high school. It's going to make them think life is short. Life is unexpected. That's unfair that this kid got hurt. They thought it was a concussion and ends up dying. And that's what Yes I Can is about. That's what Get Empowered is about. It's to teach you and be realistic. Life is not full of rainbows and roses. Life can have rainbows and roses in them. How are you going to view something? The way I viewed my dad in the hospital was, I've had my dad for 40 years. I lost my dad after 40 years. I was blessed to have a dad for 40 years. Was all of it beautiful? No, it never is. Is everything beautiful? But the most prosperous marriages, are those beautiful? No. Business partnerships, no matter what it is, there is conflict, there is struggle. But if it means enough to you, you will fight for it, and you will go through the trenches. You will go through the struggles to achieve what it is you want. And there are kids in Flagstaff, there are kids in Williams, there are kids in northern Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. You're talking all across the world. But for now, it's got to start in Flagstaff. Get Empowered is starting in Flagstaff for a reason. I'm not going to give up. Jason J. Boom just called me, got off the phone and said, dude, throw my money out. If we cannot raise the money, do not worry about me. Now, what type of person would do that? A selfish person that's all about him? No, he needs to get his story out. He needs to get his story out. And I know his story, and his story is going to impact people. It's going to hit people in their hearts, and it's going to bring light to some people's lives that are going through struggles, that are living with guilt. Stories I have, the story Vidal has, the story Wally has of making decisions 30 years ago still affect him today. Even though he's a changed man, they still affect him today. So I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I hope you guys watch this video. I hope you guys share it. And this has gone way longer than I expected, but this is me. And the question I have for you is, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? You've got less than 2 weeks to an event, something that means a lot to you. Would you give up, walk away, and say we'll fight another day? Or would you fight your freaking butt off to make it happen and have faith in yourself, have faith in those that you involve in this, and have faith in others to see your vision and see your value that you have to offer others? So, if you got a voice, please share. Comment section below. Please share. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you give up and walk away? Postpone this event to February? Or would you just have total faith that this is going to happen? So, that's what I'm going to leave you with. Please comment. Feel free to, please share this. We have a crowdfunding project with GoFundMe.com, which is GoFundMe.com/GetEmpowered. And I am asking $15 And if you don't have $15, which I totally understand because I've been there, if you do not have it, then share the link. I'm asking you to donate your time. Donate an hour to create an email to send that link out and say, hey, I live in Flagstaff. I live in Williams. I live in Winslow. I live in Northern Arizona. Hey, there's an event going on here. I can't afford to do anything, but can you help donate to this project? So if you can't donate the funds, which I fully understand because sometimes it's a tough world out there, I ask you to donate an hour of your time to send the link out and message people because somebody you know might be able to afford $15. So I'm going to leave you with that. You guys have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are when you're watching this. Talk to you soon. Bye.